"Get out," she said, voice low. He stepped in.
No.
"I can't do this, Oliver." Her voice broke. "You don't get to show up and undo me,"
I'm not trying to undo you.
he said, stepping closer.
I'm trying to remind you that we were never finished.
They were breathing too hard, too close. "And now what?" she asked bitterly. "You want to pick up where we left off? After all the years?" He reached for her. She slapped his hand away. "No," she whispered. But he was still moving, slowly, like gravity pulled him. Her back hit the wall. He reached up, tentative, slow, and cupped her cheek. She didn't pull away this time. His lips brushed hers, feather-light, unsure. Savannah's entire body caught fire. She surged forward, crashing into him like a wave. Their mouths met, hot, hungry, desperate. His arms locked around her waist, pulling her against him as if trying to merge their bodies back into one. She moaned into his mouth as his hands slid down her back, gripping her hips, pressing her against the barn wall. The kiss deepened, rough and wild now, all teeth and tongues and 5 years of agony erupting between them.
Heart's Audio Library presents Rekindling the Fire That Once Shattered Us, a novel by Honey Hearts. But before I start the story, kindly hit the subscribe button and also hit like if you liked the story. Thank you.
Part 1. The dry California wind swept across the valley like a whispered memory. Savannah Calloway stepped out of her father's classic '68 Mustang, the leather seat warm beneath her thighs. The scent of sun-baked earth and grapes thick in the air. She closed the door with care, heels crunching against gravel as she turned to take in the view. Rows of perfectly manicured vines stretched beyond the ridge, deep green against the golden hills of Napa Valley. The Calloway vineyards, her inheritance, her past, and now, for better or worse, her present. The breeze shifted, carrying with it the scent of pressed grapes, dust, and something faintly familiar, the kind of scent that tugged at old wounds that had never quite scarred over. She hadn't planned to come back, not really, but her father's health was failing. The vineyard's operations were unstable, and her engagement to Derek Whitmore, her longtime family friend, had become more expectation than affection. So here she was, after 5 years abroad, still Calloway by name, but far from the girl who had left. Behind her, the Mustang's engine ticked as it cooled. Ahead, the land waited.
Miss Savannah.
She turned. Hank Monroe, the vineyard's oldest foreman, stood a few feet away. His sun-weathered face was as familiar as the rows of vines behind him. He tipped his hat, his eyes soft with something like relief.
You're a sight for sore eyes.
"Hi, Hank." She smiled faintly and stepped forward, letting him take her in the same way she was taking in the land, like checking if it was still real.
You been gone a while?
"Too long," she said, and meant it. They walked in silence toward the old warehouse. The place hadn't changed much. Same rusted tin roof, same creaking doors, same faint scent of aging wood and wine.
You'll want to see the ridge.
Hank said.
It's still there. Still the same.
She nodded. "I know." But she wasn't ready. Not yet. She passed the old harvest field instead, the one that dipped just behind the main winery. It was quieter here, a little wild around the edges now, where the workers didn't bother keeping the weeds at bay. That's when she saw it. A black SUV, new, sleek, out of place. A man stood beside it, speaking with one of the estate lawyers. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a charcoal gray suit that didn't belong anywhere near a vineyard. His back was to her, but something about the way he moved made her breath catch. She took a step closer. The man turned, and her world tilted. The face was unmistakable. Strong jaw, slight cleft in his chin, sharp cheekbones softened by a full mouth she had kissed too many times to forget. Dark hair cut shorter now. But the eyes, God, the eyes. They were the same. Steel gray, stormy, alive. "Oliver!" She breathed, heart slamming against her ribs. The man's expression didn't flicker. He glanced at her, polite, unreadable, like she was a stranger. Then he nodded once.
Miss Calloway,
He said smoothly.
it's Landon Price, and I'm here about the land acquisition.
Landon Price. No, that wasn't possible. Oliver Maddox had died 5 years ago. Motorcycle accident. She had cried at his grave, mourned him, buried their child alone because of him. But the man in front of her, he wasn't a ghost. He was breathing, moving, looking at her like he knew exactly who she was, and was pretending not to. She didn't remember speaking, just moving. Up close, she could see the faint scar above his lip, the one Oliver got fixing her dad's tractor the summer they fell in love. She had kissed that scar. This was no coincidence. "You look just like someone I used to know," she said quietly, testing him. "Dead ringer?" Landon's smile didn't reach his eyes,
I get that a lot.
but something in his jaw twitched. She knew that twitch. It was him. Part 2. Savannah's fingers curled tightly around the edge of her leather bag, the only anchor she had in that moment. Landon Price, if that was even his name, stood less than 3 feet away. The same height, the same voice, the same impossible gaze of the man she had loved so fiercely once it nearly ruined her. No, not once. Still. "Who did you say you were again?" she asked, her tone cool, sharp-edged. He shifted slightly, hands tucked into his pockets. His watch gleamed in the sunlight. Expensive, modern, corporate. Everything Oliver Maddox had never been.
Landon Price.
He said again.
I represent Delmore Development. We're in talks to purchase the ridge.
The ridge. Her throat tightened. Their ridge. "Convenient," she said tightly. "Considering it's the one place I told my father I wouldn't sell,"
I was told it was under consideration.
he replied.
The land's underutilized. Sentimental, but
"Stop talking like him," she snapped. "Like you're not him." He blinked once.
excuse me?
Savannah stepped forward, her voice lower now, trembling but lethal. "You're wearing his face, Oliver. Same voice, same scar, same goddamn eyes. Either you're some sick impersonator or—"
I think you're mistaken, Miss Calloway.
he cut in, calm but too smooth, too careful. Her eyes burned. "Do you know what it feels like to bury someone you love? To mourn a future you planned, a child, only to have his twin show up 5 years later pretending he doesn't know you?" His composure cracked. Just for a moment. Barely a breath, but it was there. "You think I don't recognize you?" she whispered. "I used to wake up with my face buried in your neck. I used to trace that scar in the dark. You think I wouldn't know you?" He said nothing. The silence screamed. Her chest rose and fell with rapid breaths. "Say something! Damn it, say something!" Landon, Oliver, turned away. And then, finally, he broke.
I didn't die,
He said softly.
but I had to disappear.
Savannah froze. It was like hearing a door open inside a locked room she had never thought she'd enter again. He turned toward her, face stripped bare now. No smile, no facade. Just Oliver. Older, heavier with regret, more haunted than she remembered.
I was supposed to meet you that night,
he said.
I was on my way.
She swallowed hard, her pulse roaring in her ears.
But I never made it. Someone ran me off the road, hard. My bike flipped into the ravine.
His jaw clenched.
The next time I opened my eyes, I was in a clinic 2 towns over. No ID, just pain. And the message was clear. Stay away.
Savannah's knees nearly gave out. My father? She asked, voice hollow.
I don't know for sure,
Oliver said.
but it doesn't take a genius to connect the dots. I was warned, threatened. I was nothing. A field hand. You were a Calloway. They made it clear, if I came back, I wouldn't survive the second time.
He looked up at her.
And you were safer thinking I was dead.
Her hand flew before she even thought. The slap cracked through the air. Oliver's head jerked to the side, but he didn't move otherwise. Didn't defend himself. He just stood there and took it. You let me think you died, she hissed. You let me stand on that ridge alone, cry at your funeral. You let me lose our child without so much as a goodbye. His eyes darkened.
I didn't know about the baby. Savannah, I swear to God I didn't know.
Tears stung her eyes. That's the point, Oliver. You left me with no chance to tell you. She turned to go, her voice breaking. I didn't bury a ghost that day. I buried you. And I never forgave myself for loving you. He caught her wrist, gently but firmly.
Don't walk away.
Why? She demanded. So you can disappear again when it gets hard?
No,
His grip softened. His voice cracked.
because I've spent 5 years trying to forget you and I still can't breathe without your name in my chest.
She wrenched free and stared at him, shattered. You have no right, she whispered.
I know.
But his eyes begged her to stay. Part 3. Savannah didn't remember the drive back to the house. The world outside the car was a blur. Vines, trees, fences, all smearing past her windshield like paint melting in the rain. Her hands trembled on the steering wheel. Oliver was alive. And not just alive. Here. Real. Standing in front of her like the last 5 years hadn't nearly destroyed her. The pain of his loss hadn't faded. She had buried it deep, under layers of responsibility, control. A tidy engagement to a man she didn't truly love. She had become polished, collected, hard when necessary, untouchable. Until he looked at her. Now her breath came in shallow gasps, her heart pounding like it hadn't in years. Anger, grief, desire, all of it roared beneath her skin. She needed air, needed space, needed... She slammed the brakes. The car skidded slightly on the gravel road just outside the north barn. Her old refuge. Quiet, private. No one would think to find her there. She flung the door open and stepped into the fading light, wind rushing through her hair as she stalked toward the barn doors, yanked one open, and ducked inside. Darkness, dust, memories. Her palms pressed to the cool wood of the interior wall as she leaned forward, eyes shut tight. The barn still smelled like hay and cedar, still echoed with faint memories of laughter, whispers, and Oliver's hands on her skin on late summer nights. It was where they used to hide, where they used to dream, where he'd told her he loved her for the first time. Her breath hitched. I shouldn't have come here, she muttered aloud. But another voice answered.
I was hoping you would.
She spun around. He stood in the doorway, shadowed in golden light, wind stirring his dark hair, jacket gone, sleeves rolled up. He looked wrecked and beautiful. Get out, she said, voice low. He stepped in.
No.
I can't do this, Oliver. Her voice broke. You don't get to show up and undo me.
I'm not trying to undo you.
He said, stepping closer.
I'm trying to remind you that we were never finished.
You left me!
I lost you.
They were breathing too hard, too close. And now what? She asked bitterly. You want to pick up where we left off? After all the years? After the baby? He reached for her. She slapped his hand away. No, she whispered. But he was still moving, slowly, like gravity pulled him. And she wasn't backing away.
You think I don't regret everything?
He said, his voice raw.
You think I don't wake up at night with your name on my lips? I died, Savannah. I let myself. I thought it would protect you. And I was wrong.
Her back hit the wall. He reached up, tentative, slow, and cupped her cheek. She didn't pull away this time. Why are you here? She asked, barely able to speak.
Because even after all this time,
his voice dipped.
You're still the only thing that feels real.
His lips brushed hers, featherlight, unsure. Savannah's entire body caught fire. She surged forward, crashing into him like a wave. Their mouths met. Hot, hungry, desperate. His arms locked around her waist, pulling her against him as if trying to merge their bodies back into one. She moaned into his mouth as his hands slid down her back, gripping her hips, pressing her against the barn wall. The kiss deepened, rough and wild now, all teeth and tongues and 5 years of agony erupting between them.
Oh, you taste the same.
He rasped against her lips. And you feel like a memory I never stopped needing. She gasped, clutching at his shirt, pulling it open, buttons flying. Her hands were frantic, skimming his chest, digging into his shoulders, sliding lower. He growled as he lifted her off her feet, her legs wrapping around his waist instinctively. He pressed her harder into the wall, their bodies grinding, mouths devouring. When he rocked into her, still clothed, still wild, she let out a strangled gasp and bit his shoulder. Tell me this isn't real, she whispered. He kissed her jaw, her neck, the hollow of her throat.
It's more real than anything I've had since the night I lost you.
Part 4. The barn was dim, lit only by the slanted glow of the setting sun bleeding through the cracks in the wood. Dust floated in the golden light like stars caught in still air. And in the center of it, Savannah Calloway was losing herself in the arms of a man she thought she'd never see again. Her back hit the support beam as Oliver pressed her harder against it, his mouth devouring hers with a hunger that bordered on violent. His hands roamed under her dress now, urgent, greedy, reverent all at once.
You have no idea.
He breathed, voice thick with restraint he was seconds from shattering.
How many nights I dreamed of this.
She grabbed his belt, yanked it open with a sharp metallic clink. Then stop dreaming, she whispered. Touch me like I'm real. He groaned, deep, raw from the chest, and let his forehead fall against hers.
You are real, and you're killing me.
Then die with me, she whispered and pulled his hand between her legs. He hissed through his teeth, finding her already soaked through her lace thong.
Oh, Savannah.
She grabbed the hem of her dress and shoved it up past her hips. His hands trembled as he pushed her panties aside. He didn't rush. He savored, fingers sliding along her folds with slow, delicious precision that made her shiver. She was already coming apart from just that. His touch, the feel of his breath on her skin, the way his forehead stayed pressed to hers like he needed to feel her while he undid her.
You're still perfect,
he murmured.
Still the sweetest thing I've ever touched.
Oliver! Her voice broke on his name as 2 fingers slid inside her, curling just right. Her nails dug into his back, her hips bucking into his hand. God, don't stop! He didn't. He kept watching her. Her lips parted, her body grinding against his palm, her eyes fluttering shut. Then he kissed her again, messy and breathless, and tugged his jeans down just enough to free himself. She gasped when she felt the thick, hard length of him pressing against her. He was hot, heavy, familiar.
Last chance to tell me to stop.
He rasped into her neck, the tip of him teasing her entrance. She looked him straight in the eye. If you stop, I'll hate you forever. With a growl, he drove into her. She cried out, sharp, beautiful, needy, as her body took him in inch by inch, stretching, tightening, remembering. He moved slowly at first, deliberately, like he wanted to feel every part of her again, to prove to himself that this wasn't a dream or a ghost. Then she whispered his name, soft and broken, and his control shattered. He began to thrust harder, deeper, the sound of their bodies slapping together, echoing through the barn like music. She wrapped her arms around his neck and held on, moaning into his shoulder, her voice broken with every stroke. Her back scraped against the beam. His hand slid between them again, finding her clit, and circling it fast and tight. Her body jerked. Oliver,
I've got you.
he whispered.
Let go.
She did. She came hard, her legs shaking, her mouth open in a silent cry as her body clamped down around him. He kept moving through it, lost in her, chasing his own edge. And when he followed, he pressed his forehead to hers again and whispered,
And home.
They stayed like that for a long moment, breathing, trembling, connected, alive. When he finally pulled back to look at her, her eyes were wet, but not from tears of grief. Not this time. She touched his face, thumb brushing his cheek. Promise me, she said softly.
Anything.
Don't disappear again? He leaned in and kissed her forehead.
I swear on every day I wasted without you. Never again.
Part 5. Savannah was still wearing Oliver's shirt when she opened the front door of the Calloway estate house and found Derek Whitmore standing in the foyer. He didn't speak right away. He just looked at her, then down at her bare legs, then at the red flush across her collarbone, and finally, the wrinkled men's shirt clinging to her damp skin. A long silence stretched between them like a blade. She didn't try to explain, didn't need to.
I came to drop off the permits.
Derek said, holding up a thick file of legal documents with perfect posture. His voice was calm, controlled, almost too polite. But his eyes, those cold, assessing blue eyes, were a storm barely contained. She crossed her arms over her chest. Derek?
Don't.
He said quietly.
Don't insult me with a lie. Not tonight.
He set the papers down on the table beside the door, then straightened his cufflinks like everything wasn't unraveling.
I saw the car.
He added.
That same SUV parked by the barn earlier. The one belonging to our mysterious land buyer.
Savannah flinched. It's not what you think. Derek laughed. One dry, humorless exhale.
It's exactly what I think, and more.
He finally looked at her again, his jaw ticking.
I always knew there was a part of you I didn't own.
He said, voice low.
I figured I could wait it out. That eventually, you'd forget. That he was just a ghost you clung to because grief is easier than reality.
Savannah's heart twisted. Derek,
You let me propose to you with his name still carved into your freaking heart.
That hit harder than any slap. She stepped back, eyes burning. You don't understand.
Don't I?
He snapped.
I've loved you since we were kids. I gave you every safe thing you said you needed. My name, my money, my family's political influence. You had it all lined up. All you had to do was pretend.
But I wasn't pretending. she whispered.
And what the hell do you call this?
He scoffed. I call it waking up, Derek. Her voice rose now. I call it realizing I've been sleepwalking through my own life just to keep everyone else happy. You. My father. The goddamn board of Callaway Vineyards. And all the while, the only man who ever saw me, really saw me, was the one I thought I'd buried. Derek's jaw clenched.
So that's it? He comes back and you just throw away the life we built?
We didn't build anything, she said. We arranged it, like a transaction. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded once.
You're making a mistake.
She didn't answer. Derek turned to go, his voice quiet as he reached for the door.
He left you once. Just remember that when he does it again.
The door shut behind him with a soft, final click. Savannah leaned back against the wall, her chest heaving, tears pressing behind her eyes. But this time, she didn't break, because the girl who would have cried for safety was gone, and the woman left standing was finally choosing herself. Part 6. The rain rolled in just after midnight, a slow, steady drizzle that coated the valley in silver mist, soaking the vines, softening the edges of the world. Savannah didn't bother with an umbrella. She walked straight through it, barefoot, Oliver's shirt clinging to her body like a second skin. The barn was behind her now. The house was quiet. She headed for the old guest house near the far edge of the property, the one her father used to rent out to workers in the off-season. The one Oliver was now living in under a new name, as a new man. She didn't knock. She opened the door and stepped into the dim, warm light of the living room, where Oliver sat on the worn leather couch, a glass of bourbon in his hand, his expression unreadable. He looked up as she entered, and just like that, the years faded again. She crossed the room slowly, dripping wet, and sat on the arm of the couch. You were right, she said. I told him. Oliver didn't speak at first. He just reached for the blanket beside him and gently draped it around her shoulders. His hand lingered on her arm.
What did he say?
He asked quietly. That I was making a mistake, she said. That you'll leave again. Oliver looked down into his glass. Savannah studied him, the set of his jaw, the quiet tension in his shoulders, the pain in his eyes. Will you? She asked. He exhaled.
Unless you make me.
Her throat tightened. I need to know everything, she said. No more pieces. No more protecting me. You owe me the truth, Oliver. He nodded, then set the glass down and leaned back.
I told you I was run off the road that night. That much is true. But it wasn't random. It was planned.
Savannah went still.
I'd been getting warnings for weeks.
He continued.
Anonymous notes, phone calls, always the same message. Walk away from her. Or else.
He paused, swallowed.
I thought it was a scare tactic. I didn't realize how serious it was until my brakes failed. When I woke up, I was off the grid. No wallet, no phone. Nothing.
Her eyes widened. They took your ID?
They took everything. Made sure I couldn't be traced. I had internal injuries, broken ribs, a concussion. They dumped me at a private clinic 2 towns over, under a fake name.
Oh my gosh, she whispered.
I tried to get back to you. But every time I got close, there was someone watching. Someone waiting. I wasn't stupid enough to think I was untouchable.
Savannah's mind raced. My father?
I don't have proof,
Oliver said.
but I know the Callaway name opens doors and closes them. Fast.
Tears burned at her eyes. Why didn't you tell me this sooner?
Because I didn't want to drag you back into it.
He leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. She was crying now, quietly, the tears streaking her cheeks. You should have let me decide,
I know,
he said, his voice breaking.
and I regret it. Every single day.
Silence. Then he looked at her. Really looked at her. And reached for her hand.
I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect a second chance. But I had to come back. I had to see you. Had to know if I still existed in your heart.
She stared at him, emotions warring inside her. Rage, grief, love, fear. So many broken pieces. But his touch still felt like home. I don't know if I can trust you, she said softly.
Then I'll earn it.
He replied.
Day by day, or minute by minute. However long it takes.
She moved closer, letting her head fall against his shoulder. They sat like that for a long time, the storm rolling outside, the past unraveling quietly between them. And for the first time in years, Savannah didn't feel like she was carrying it alone. Part 7. The sun rose over the valley, casting gold over the vines, the soil, and the ridge where everything had once broken, and where everything was beginning again. Savannah stood at the edge of the land, staring out as if seeing it for the first time. Behind her, Oliver approached quietly. She didn't turn. Not yet. I've been thinking, she said, voice even, about what it takes to build something from nothing. He stopped beside her.
It starts with loss.
She looked at him now. Tell me the rest. Not just the pain. I want to know how Oliver Maddox became Landon Price. Oliver exhaled slowly, shoving his hands into his jacket pockets.
After the accident, after they dumped me at that clinic, I was alone. No ID, no cash, barely able to walk.
She listened, silent, but never looked away.
I worked odd jobs under fake names for a while. Landscaping, delivery trucks, warehouse night shifts. I slept anywhere, ate whatever I could afford. I was angry, bitter. But I was also watching, learning.
His voice deepened.
I ended up working construction at a real estate firm's development site. One of the junior partners took a liking to me after I caught a flaw in one of their plans. I started shadowing him, doing late-night research at the public library, teaching myself business, development, contracts. After a year, he gave me a shot, a new identity, a clean slate. I became Landon Price.
Savannah's lips parted in awe. You built an empire from scratch.
I built it because I thought it was the only way I'd survive in a world where men like your father make the rules,
he said bitterly.
And I swore to myself, if I ever had the chance to take back what I lost, I would.
She touched his arm gently. You didn't just take it back, you changed the game. Oliver looked at her.
And what about your father?
Savannah's eyes darkened. 3 months ago, he had a stroke. The board forced him into early retirement. He barely speaks now, but he recognizes me. I see it in his eyes. He knows what he did.
You never told him I was back?
She shook her head. No, he doesn't deserve that peace. Not until he apologizes. And I don't think he ever will. Oliver nodded slowly.
Then it ends here, with us.
She reached for his hand. Yes, with us. The next morning, at the Callaway boardroom, Savannah stood tall in front of the board, dressed not as a daughter, not as someone's fiancée, but as a woman who owned her story. I'm buying back the ridge, she said. Personally. No more partnerships. No outside developers. No compromises.
But the land buyer
Was never just a buyer, she said. He was the man this company tried to erase. Gasps. Silence. Consider this closure, she added. And a warning. The future of Callaway Vineyards will no longer be built on intimidation or blood. That night at the Ridge. Under a sky full of stars, Oliver held her hand as they walked between the vines. No cameras, no deals, no more lies. "Do you still think about what we lost?" Savannah asked quietly.
I do,
Oliver said.
but I think more about what we've found.
They stopped beneath the same tree where they had first kissed all those years ago. And there, in the place where everything had once ended, Oliver got down on one knee. No ring, just a promise,
I'm not asking you to forget what we've been through.
he said.
I'm asking you to build something with me from the ashes of it.
Savannah smiled through the tears. Yes, always, yes. He stood, pulled her into his arms, and kissed her like he had 5 years to make up for. Because he did. Epilogue. 1 year later. Savannah Calloway and Oliver Maddox, now legally Landon Price, stood in front of their newly opened wine label, Second Harvest. The tagline beneath it read, "Grown from fire, bottled with truth." They'd rebuilt everything, together. And this time, no one could take it away. The end.
Life can get hard, so honey, if you need to cry, just come share my pillow and rain, rain, go away.
Thanks for listening. And again, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit like if you liked the story. See you in my next audio story, More Power.